Good morning, everyone. How we doing? I thought I would do a very quick video on a little formation that we're all familiar with. It's an oldie, but a goodie. First of all, welcome to the channel. This is one of the first soccer videos. DannyOrtonOfficial.com. Welcome to the Facebook group, Soccer Fans Club, Soccer Coaches Group, and also YouTube channel, etc., etc. So just to let you know, I'm using this little software here, Soccer Profile. Some friends of ours in England have this little thing, and I use it all the time. It's great. But I won't keep this too long. But let's just go through a 4-4-2 formation. And as I go through all these formations over a few videos, I welcome anyone's input if they've used it, things they like about it. The thing about the 4-4-2 is it's pretty easy to coach in terms of a tactical layout. A lot of things are done in partnerships. So the left back works a lot with the left midfield player. There's a relationship there. This guy's 1v2. This guy's required to help out. Central defenders, there tends to be a partnership between these two. The central midfield players, there tends to be a partnership that you can talk about. Typically, it's one goes and one stays, and that little seesaw effect. Centre forwards, typically there's one that shows and one that goes again, but there's a relationship where they move, and then the right back and the right midfield player, etc. So there's partnerships all across the field that make things pretty simple. One thing that we always talk about are sort of the benefits, if you like, and the potential drawbacks of any formation. The big thing I always talk about or look for differences in formations are how many numbers essentially you've got at the back. So this is a back four formation, and how many midfield players do you have in the middle? So the central midfield players. So for example, if we went to this formation, which is pretty common, we end up with a 4-4-1-1 potentially, or we could consider that a 4-3-3. So things move around. We could also consider it a 4-5-1. So you can see that not a lot changes in terms of personnel on the field. It just is the difference here between 3 in here to start with, or 2. And again, with 4-4-2, we're leaving this guy out the way. It could also be that we end up with a formation where, we look like that, and there's the 4-2-3-1. Again, 3 almost central midfield players. But I think if we go back to the 4-4-2, we're saying this player tends to get pushed higher up the field. So we look like that. So good things we like about it. We like the balance. It's pretty straightforward. The roles on the field are relatively simple. Talk about 2 forwards, 1 show, 1 go. This is where I'll fail with some of these tools here. But if I was to stick, say, I always like doing a line. If I was to stick a line through the middle of the field, see if I can make this thing bigger. Ooh, there we go. So this is a decent way to start to think about how teams might attack and might defend. We probably need a ball. That's important. We've got to show a ball when we're talking about coaching diagrams. But let's stick a ball just here with this player. So actually, let's just make it with the left back. That this doesn't work, then I'm in trouble. There we go. So typically we look at this line here. So ball on this side of the line. We'd like to see 2 forwards work together. So one's not a right forward and miles away from the play. Again, the younger you are, this pass isn't even on. So these players getting closer together to help with little combinations is useful. Ball on this side of the line, we can start to look at team shape. So there's width from this player. The right midfield player can probably tuck into something like that. The two central midfield players would split, and we look at this big shape that a 4-4-2 could give us. Pretty nice. Ball switches at this point to the other side of the field. Maybe you go through central defenders, maybe go through a CDM, okay, but you end up here. Again, this situation here is difficult for us to play, So at that point there, we'd probably expect this player to come out wide, the 2 forwards to come this side of the line so they can be involved with something, and this player may be tucking in. One thing that's important to talk about with this formation too is that these 2 players here, one of them should always be behind the ball. So wherever the ball might go, they should be behind it. I think that's important. Well, outside of the back 2 central defenders. Oh, I've got a message from Bill Smith. There we go. So in terms of the starting positions on the attacking side of things, this is pretty decent in terms of the 4-4-2, but there's the basic shape. The other thing that with a 4-4-2 that can happen if this player sits, is that this player can start to get forward, the weak-sided fullback, or it could be that this player here starts to move forward into that position there, and then all of a sudden we're talking next level. We're starting to look at different numbers going forward. On the defensive side of things, again, I'm looking at this line. Let's put a player on the field that's a bad guy. Let's put a player over here. There we go. See if we can spin him around. There we go. Let's spin him around. Some of my videos will involve me not being able to do that very well. So there's the ball. So again, we're looking at this line. It's a good guide for the team to think about. I always like to think about at this point with the ball again on this side of this white line, this midpoint, if you will, that we would look to put players close to or the other side of that. So there's the left midfield player helping out. Here's a CDM. Oh, geez, I moved that thing again. Here's a CDM moving. Here's another CDM in that position. Here is the right back tucked in. There we go, the right back. Here is who is this guy? Centre forward, probably stay high up the field. Other centre forward, stay high up the field. And here's our right midfield player. Watch, the width is going to go. I'm going to tuck in. Now at that point there, we can start to say this midline here can be really useful for players, especially young players, when it comes to team defending, which is something that's difficult to coach. But again, the ball turns over. Okay, this player loses it. We end up with our left back with the ball, and at some point then, at that point there, that whole thing can fan out. Okay, as the right back gets out, two CDMs make room there. The central defender gets out. This central defender probably drops in there, so they're off the little angle for that pass. This left midfield player gets out, and the ball's on this side of this line. So then let's have this guy just making that run there. Now all of a sudden that looks pretty good. I'd probably suggest that this player might tuck in just a little bit in case we lose the ball again. But there's a decent shape to then go and attack. So that's some of the basics of a 4-4-2. Again, the big differences for me are that we have two forwards that overall stay high up the field, which can be useful because not a lot of teams have played against two centre forwards. One tends to be able to be good at showing for the ball and holding it up, and one tends to be good at running in behind. Certainly useful if we're getting into situations where there's the shower, that person gets turned, and then this person's on the shoulder of the last player for that next pass in behind. So that's a great little combination right there with two forwards. But two forwards, two central midfield players. Okay, two central midfield players. There's all sorts of tweaks you can do with a 4-4-2 to help out this mismatch in the middle of the field. Again, let's assume that other teams play with. Let's make this picture look a little nicer. Let's assume that a lot of teams these days are playing with three in here. Oh, there's another message from a friend of mine. There we go. So three in here. There's that 3v2 situation. So we've done lots of things in the past where if the other team has the ball, let's stick the ball in with this guy. And right now we're looking at this 3v2 situation here, this mismatch. We've done things where this player on the weak side tucks in. Just picks up this guy here. Then we've got that 3v3 matchup in the middle. Now again, we've left this side of the field open. By the time this ball potentially gets switched, there's a chance for us to then slide over, right? So if I was to put another player here, there he is. This ball gets switched over. Let's say you play, oh, that's a massive ball. Playing against a really good team, ball into that player. Okay, so what do we do now? We need a little pressure on the ball from this guy. There it is. Now we've got this 3v2 matchup. Don't like it. These three are good. This could be a little ticky-taka in there and they're in on goal. Where's our left midfield player? Here he comes. He slides as that ball is making its way over. This one slides, and we've now got that 3v3 in the middle. So lots of options, lots of things to talk about the 4-4-2, lots of patterns of play. But again, the basics are that we've got four defenders, two midfield players, one tends to hold, and one tends to be a little bit more box to box. We've got two wide players, two wingers that hopefully are good enough to come and help out the fullbacks. There's one, and there's two. And we've got two forwards. One tends to be a show, one tends to be a go. And if they can track either side of this midpoint line when we're on the ball and off the ball, there's a good chance a 4-4-2 will work for you. And also just to make sure that we cover this 2v3 situation here, either with someone tucking in, there we go, or with one of these centre forwards. They'll often play with a CDM. Maybe one of these centre forwards just comes and gets in the way of this guy a little bit, right? That would fix it too. But watch out for that 3v2 in the middle midfield. If you've got two absolute superstars in here that can do it all, then that's a 4-4-2 is a great formation, because if they beat up on these three, you've got a player up here elsewhere on the field. So there we go, 4-4-2. Hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to hit some comments if you've used it. It's a formation that's an oldie but a goodie, and I don't think it gets the credit it's got in the last few years, because we've got a little fancy with some of the things we're doing. But overall, 4-4-2 could morph into many different things real fast. Even just a fullback getting forward, you're now at three at the back. So 4-4-2 is a really good starting place for kids to get to a position where they can start learning the tactical parts of the game. But I definitely like this midline as a starting point to help kids out. Hope you enjoyed it. See you on the next one. Cheers.